I met this guy on the internet, in a chat room. His screen name was Guy101, and his profile was pretty empty, just 42, male, Ohio. There was a small picture of him with a large handlebar mustache and no shirt. His name was Keith, and over time, we talked about all sorts of stuff. Cars, sports, politics, whatever. I learned factoids like Keith bowls an average of 185 and wears a size 10.5 shoe. He collects classic cars, volunteers at a battered women's shelter, and alphabetizes his spice rack. Labels front. Anyways, he lives in Akron, Ohio, in this 3-story house on a street called Twain Road. It's about 2 blocks from this big lake that has lots of different fish in it. Dace and grouper and sunfish. It's all about 5 miles from the Goodyear Blimp Air Dock. From what Keith tells me, the first 2 floors of his house are fetching. Antique furniture, original fittings, rescued trinkets, everything in place. Everything with a story. But his computer is up on the 3rd floor, what Keith calls his junk space. And when he sends me pictures, you can't see much. Not really. And Keith lives alone in this big house. So I ask him, why you live alone in that big house? And he tells me, my partner died 8 years ago. Anyways, once he told me about the time he picked up a hitchhiker on Interstate 76. The road was empty. Keith was driving his 1978 black Mercury Cougar with 37,000 miles on it. Cruising at 55, he sees this guy on the side of the road in a wrinkled plaid shirt and a hunter's cap. The man's holding out his thumb. Keith stops and picks him up. They drive off, and they're both pretty quiet. Then the hitchhiker, he does this thing. He says, I'm horny. And Keith says, oh? Then he asks, do you know any women? And Keith says, no. Then he asks, are you straight? And Keith says, no. So he goes, suck my dick. And Keith says, yes. So they drive back towards Keith's house, passing the Goodyear Blimp Air Dock and the lake. Inside, Keith offers the man a drink. He wants a beer. And then Keith asks, "Anything else?" They're now up on that third floor, and they get real close to each other. Keith takes off his clothes. The man takes off his belt. He runs his hand up Keith's back, right up his spine, past his neck, and grabs him by the skull, knees him in the gut, throws him to the floor, ties him up, blindfolds him, and steals his car. Three hours later, the man comes back with a cigar, a hunting knife, and a .357 Magnum. He kicks Keith in the gut, burns him with the cigar, cuts him, pushes the gun in Keith's mouth, and tells him to suck it while he fucks him. And then he unties him and leaves. Keith ends up with 17 bruises, 7 cuts, 3 sprains, and 5 third-degree burns all over his head, torso, and limbs. And the thing he tells me he regrets? Not getting the guy's phone number.